Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about Chapter 6. And we're going to get started. And I don't know who that strange guy is sitting back there at my desk, but I don't know. I forgot to lock the door last night. All right, let's get started. Resources and chemical information. This is a pretty good chapter. We're going to talk about Emergency Response Guidebook, ERG. That's a great resource. North American Emergency Response Guidebook. Every emergency responder is going to have one of these in one way, shape, or form. The ERG is a quick reference guide to help responders quickly identify the risk of a hazmat release and isolate the area. The ERG responders first on the scene can identify chemicals by common name, UN number, placard or hazard class, container. It also gives isolation and evacuation guidelines and hazard information. The ERG is developed for ease of use. It's updated every 4 years. It's available in hardback, online version, downloadable software, and via smartphones. It's really slick too. I downloaded it on my smartphone in just a matter of couple minutes. This is the 2016 one, but 2020 is out now. And it's available at no charge for smartphones. It's real easy to download. So, and they suggest you go ahead and do it. And certainly all emergency responders should have it there on their smartphones. So we're going to look at some of these pages here, and to see them, I'm going to have to get a little bit more eyeball on them here. One of the ways you can do it is by shipping documents, papers, and on the road, they're kept in the cab of the motor vehicle, rail in possession of crew member, aviation in possession of pilot, marine, and kept in a holder on the bridge of a vessel, so you know where to find them. And then now you have information on emergency contact, hazard, shipping name, placards. So shipping documents is one way to find out what the heck you're dealing with here. And you notice how to use this guidebook. The first bit of advice they give, and they give this out more than once, I believe: resist rushing in. Approaching incident from upwind, uphill, or upstream. Stay clear of all spills, vapors, fumes, smoke, and suspicious sources. Very good advice. Step 1, identify the material and use any of the following: identification number, 4-digit UA number, it comes from a placard, an orange panel, shipping paper, or package. Name of the material from a shipping document or package. Step 2, identify the 3-digit guide number. Use ID number indexed in the yellow bordered pages or name in the blue bordered pages. Guide number supplemented with the letter P indicates that the material may undergo violent polymerization if subjected to heat or contamination. You don't want that to happen. Index entries highlighted in green are TIH, toxic inhalation hazard material, a chemical warfare agent, or a dangerous water reactive material, produces toxic gas upon contact with water. So they're highlighted because you need to know that. Identify ID number and name of material, table 1, initial isolated protective action distances in the green bordered pages. If necessary, begin protective actions immediately. Again, see page 288. If no protective action required, use the information jointly with the 3-digit guide. If a reference to a guide cannot be found and this incident is believed to involve dangerous goods, use guide 111 until additional information becomes available. 112 for explosive and 114 for explosives, 1, 4, and 6. Step 3, turn to the numbered guide, the orange border pages, and read carefully. If a placard is the only source of information, turn to pages 6, 7, and use a 3-digit guide next to the placard and proceed to numbered guide in orange bordered pages. As a last resort, if only the container can be identified, consult a table of rail car and road trailer identification chart. Pages 8, 9. Information associated with these containers is for worst case scenarios only. Call the emergency response telephone number listed on the shipping paper if available. If shipping paper is not available, immediately call the appropriate emergency response agency telephone number listed on the inside back cover of this guidebook. Provide as much information as possible, such as the name of the carrier, trucking company, or railroad and vehicle number. Before an emergency, and this is good advice, become familiar with this guidebook. First responders must be trained in the use of this guidebook. That's what page 1 is all about right there. And there's the 3-digit number they talked about with these placards. Table of placards and initial response guide to use on scene. So these are the DOT placards. You see them on there, and then it refers to the page number. And this is what they talked about here. If all else fails, maybe you can identify it by the rail card. Can give you some information, but not going to tell you everything, but it's going to help. So those are the yellow pages here. And there's the green ones, again, are the ones that will produce toxic inhalation hazard, like ammonia, anhydrous, 125, 1005 ID number, guide number 125. And there's guide number 125. Potential hazards, gases, corrosives, and this is for, remember, this doesn't say ammonia here on it particularly. It says gases, corrosive, guide 125. This is a guide for anything, any of these types of gases. Toxic may be fatal if inhaled, ingested, or absorbed through skin. Vapors are extremely irritating and corrosive. Contact with gas or liquefied gas may cause burns, severe injury, and or frostbite. Fire will produce irritating, corrosive, and or toxic gases. Runoff from fire control may cause pollution. And there's public safety portion of it, and protective clothing, evacuation, emergency guide for fire, small fire, large fire, fire involving tanks, spiller leak, first aid. So that all on guide 125, which would be for other things, but also for anhydrous ammonia. Protective clothing and evacuation. So in this initial hot zone, isolate for 1,600 meters, which is a mile in all directions for a real tank, a tank, rail car, tank truck if there's a fire. Evacuate for a mile in all directions. How to use table 1, initial distances and protective action distances. So it's going to give you distances in the tables. And this is what they mean here. There's a downwind. You can see on the right-hand side, there's a downwind distance on the wind direction. And so the initial isolation zone, and for then by the wind direction, and so you can see that the downwind distance, and then half the downwind distance is for to finish off that's the rectangle for each of these. And there's a lot more information. This is just overall. That's the same drawing there. Initial isolation zone and protective action zone. So this action there. Initial isolation distance is, let's say, 400 feet. And again, 1.1 miles downwind distance is the evacuation zone, and 1 mile around. Table 1, initial isolation and protective action distances. There you go. Anhydrous ammonia, the top one. You can see that they are pretty similar. Chlorine, look at chlorine down a little bit, down 1017. First isolate and 200 feet in all directions, and then protect in small spills of chlorine at night. It's a mile. Ammonia is only 0.1 miles. So you can see the difference there. Chlorine is a lot nastier than ammonia. But there's all kind of information in this book. There you go. Anhydrous ammonia, isolate 100 feet in all directions first. In other words, that's just for a small package or small leak from a large package. First you want to do, and then is isolate in all directions, and then protect persons downwind during the night, the day, and night. It's still about 0.1 miles, even though it's 0.1 kilometer, 0.2 kilometers. And large spills, you want to isolate in all directions 500 feet and then protect half a mile, or then a day, and 1.3 miles at night. But you can see that you want to first isolate. So the first thing you want to do here was isolate in all directions 500 feet. If you had it's a tank car, a large spill of ammonia. And there's ammonia and chlorine. And you can look at that and you can see the isolation again in all directions. For the rail tail cars, 300,000 feet. And for chlorine, it's 3,000 feet. So now you can see the big difference there. Chlorine will kill you. Ammonia will too, but not as fast as chlorine. And that tells you the TIH gas is produced. And that's hydrogen chloride, HCl. And I believe gallons of capacity, liters and gallons, the size of the tanks, minimum time to failure for severe torch. So 4 minutes up to 9 minutes if it's a really big tank. Approximate time for empty for engulfing fire. 8 minutes up to 45. Fireball radius 33 feet up to 374 feet. So there's information if you think it's going to be a bleep situation. Improvised explosive device, IED. And there's some information on it. Pipe bomb, suicide belt, suicide vest. And again, outdoor evacuation. This outdoor evacuation distance for a suicide vest is 1,380 feet. So additional resources are available. NIOSH Pocket Guide, the chemical hazards, Cameo, Marplot, Aloha. They can be plot just like that diagram there to tell you where you would be affected downwind. The NIOSH Pocket Guide, that tells you more information about, again, here's ammonia, tells you the formula, cast number. It's like almost like a mini safety data sheet in a lot of ways. Has exposure limits, trade names, chemical properties, personal protection, sanitation, respiratory recommendations, incompatibilities and reactives, exposure routes, symptoms, target organs, first aid, what to do. So again, the NIOSH Pocket Guide, again, it's like a mini safety data sheet. And the NIOSH Pocket Guide is also available online, and you can download it too. And there's a part of a video in this chapter on it, so I'm not going to go into detail on it here. But you can see the ERG and the NIOSH Pocket Guide are invaluable resources to anybody in emergency response. So I said, when you do that one, do the assignment on that, you'll learn a lot more about the NIOSH Pocket Guide. Those are some of the resources you have to when you're responding to emergency, and you have to find out what it is first, or else you don't know how to handle it. Then when you do find out what it is, you can refer to these to what should I do? How far should we isolate? And what should we do if the wind direction, and everything else? A lot of information in there what to do. And we just skimmed the surface. There's a ton of information in this book. So look at them. You could download them to your phone or go online. And well, that guy's still here, isn't he? I don't know if he's going to leave or not, but maybe I'll turn the lights on and off a couple times. I didn't get him to leave. All right. Stay safe.